Okay, in this lesson, we are going to be covering workflows, but specifically workflows inside of Irisworks. So I'm going to take you through what workflows are, give you some example workflows, and then I'm going to take you inside of Irisworks and show you what the tech side of workflows looks like. So first of all, what is a workflow? A workflow, in my definition, is a set of processes and action steps that your client needs to go through. So your workflow can consist of email communication, action steps, signing contracts, paying invoices, etc. It's basically what's going to help you take all of the little steps that you are doing right now, and it's going to help you automate them and put everything into a process so that every single one of your clients is getting the exceptional customer experience that I know you can give. So before you actually create your workflow, you need to write down every single step that your client must go through from the time they inquire about your services to the time that they receive their gallery delivery. So some questions to think about are: number one, how do they receive pricing information? Do you give them a guide? Do you copy and paste a message? Do they get it in an email? Do you have an investment page on your website? You need to figure out, how are they receiving pricing information? Number two, what do you need to communicate to your clients? How can you best prepare them for their session? How can you communicate with them after their session? So you need to be thinking about that as well. Number three, do you send any guides? Do you have a prep guide, a style guide, an investment guide? Is there any type of guide or resource that you send your clients to, again, help prep them for their session? And then number four, how do you get paid? What does the process of getting paid look like? When do you talk about this with your clients? When do you require that they pay you? Do you require a retainer plus the rest of their session? Do you require it all up front? Do you allow a payment plan? You need to map these processes out and be able to answer all of these questions before you start trying to create your workflow. So if you need to, I want you, before we go further, I really want you to think about your process as it is right now, and then maybe pause this, take 10 to 15 minutes to really write out every single step in your process, then come back and hit play and come look at these example workflows. And then if you want to change anything or tweak anything about what you are currently doing in your own processes, you definitely can. Okay, so there are three types of workflows that you will need specifically for Irisworks as well. Number one is your inquiry. So you need to write out your process for when someone inquires with you. Can you simplify it? Can you automate it? So again, write out all of those steps for me. When someone contacts you and they're interested in working with you, what does that process and workflow look like? The next workflow that you're going to need is everything that happens before the actual session. So this is, someone has decided that they are going to work with you. They have secured their date on your calendar. Now what happens? You need to write out your process for what clients need to do once they have booked their session. Do they need to fill out a questionnaire? Do they need styling help? I want you to think about all of these steps that you want your client to walk through before you guys meet on the day of their session. And then you need a workflow for what happens after the session. Write out your process for exactly what's going to happen once you guys drive away from your session and go separate ways. Do you need to send sneak peeks? How and when do they receive their full gallery? Do you ask for a testimonial? There's a lot of things that can happen after the session. And I feel like this is the one process and the one step of everybody's client experience that we kind of forget about, we neglect it a little bit. So I really want you to ask yourself, how can I exceptionally serve my clients even after the picture taking is over with, after they've had an incredible in-person experience? How can I continue that experience for them? Okay, so we're going to walk through some example workflows. Lead generation. A potential client fills out my contact form. This typically happens on my website. Then an automated response is sent with my investment guide. So I like for people to not have to wait on me to answer them. So in the past, this is the step that you would make or break a client. If you took too long to respond to them, they forgot about you and they would go pick somebody else. If you, like, life happens, and let's just say that you accidentally got so busy that you missed their email, then you would potentially lose a client. And so I love the fact that we can automate the lead generation process. And I think the biggest fear with this, and I know the biggest fear of automating workflows in general, is that you don't want to be robotic. You don't want people to feel like they're not getting a personalized experience. But what I love about workflows, especially in IrisWorks, is that you still have so much room to personalize someone's experience. So even though someone fills out my contact form and there is an automated response, that response is just saying, hey, I have received your inquiry. I'm personally going to look this over. But in the meantime, here are some frequently asked questions. Here is my investment guide and what it looks like to work with me. And if you decide, even before I get back to you, that you want to work with me, then here is my booking calendar for you to go ahead and secure your spot on my calendar. Now, I would say it's pretty 50-50 for me right now, that some clients take it into their own hands. And before I even have a chance to respond by the next day or even later that day, they have already booked with me because I have been so clear in my communication and what to expect and all of the things, that they're so excited to work with me that they book it. And then, of course, I still have people who don't do anything with the automated response email, and I go ahead and send a follow-up personalized email. So I want you to know that I don't want you to be scared to put all this on autopilot, because you're still going to show up in between the cracks of where they're still getting served to the best of your ability. So that is typically what a lead generation workflow can look like. You decide what works best for you. And if you are particularly interested in seeing how this works tech-wise in in IrisWorks, you can check out my lead generation and lead response YouTube video. That one is already up, and I'll link it in the notes section. That way you guys can see that. Okay, so moving on. The next process is booking the session. So this is what it looks like for them to actually book my session. So client is sent the booking calendar link. The client can easily see the dates available to them. This prevents clients going back and forth trying to take control of a date that you don't have available. So when I was in the first, I would say 2 or 3 years of my business, I wasted so many hours just in communication about what date and time was going to work best for them. And my goodness, if I would have had IrisWorks from day one, my business would have been so dang simple and I would have had so much time back. So that's my favorite thing about the booking calendar. There is no question. Do you see that date and time available? Great, it's available. If you don't see it, it's not available. I mean, it's that simple. And I love that it just cuts the back and forth out. Number 2, then they're going to select their date. So they get full control over what they want, and then they pick it and they go through that process. The next step in that process is that my clients are prompted to go ahead and read over and sign my contract. I actually call my contract a client agreement because it sounds a lot better, and truly that's what it is. It's just you looking at all the things that I have here. It's still a legal abiding document. It's still a contract, but I don't like to call it that. I like to call it a client agreement. So if you want to call it a client agreement, go for it. So I want them to look it over before they book this session, and then they get an email with my contract, and then they're like, oh yeah, actually, I don't really want to work with you. I want to work with somebody else. And so then they just become a flaky client at that point. And then the next step, the last one to fully secure their session, is that they are prompted to pay their non-refundable retainer. Here's the thing, guys. If you're not charging a retainer, you need to be. This is how you are going to weed out your loyal and serious clients who want to work with you compared to those who don't. Now, I'm not saying that people can't wait to book their session, or they could go ahead and book it manually with you and then let you know when payday is, which could be a couple days away. I mean, guys, I have really loyal clients that even ask me if they can pay me on Friday, and I'm like, absolutely. And then if I'm not paid by Friday or Saturday, I remind them Monday, and if I'm not paid then obviously their spot goes back on the calendar. But it's really important. And I thought that the day that I started charging a retainer was the day I was going to never book a client again. But actually, the opposite happened because people are like, wow, like she's legitimate. This is professional. I can trust that my money is, being taken care of. And also, if you get a no-show or you still have clients that end up being really flaky and cancel last minute, this allows you to still have some money in your pocket. Okay. And if you're doing this for a living, then it's really important that you do that. So that's my little spiel on non-refundable retainers. Okay, so then the process before the session. So this is what my before the session process looks like. And again, my entire workflow is available for you in the IrisWorks marketplace. So if you don't want to do all of this by yourself and you just want to purchase my workflow, everything I'm talking about is included in there, as well as a one-page prep sheet and a style guide for you to customize for your clients. Everything is customizable. So there's nothing that you have to send your clients. This is all optional, but my workflow is a great way to save you some hours. And the fact that it is $75 blows my mind. So go get it if you want it. All right. So the first thing that happens when my clients book their session is they are sent what I call a next steps email. This email confirms and reminds the client of the date and time that they selected, and then prompts them to fill out my questionnaire. This is an important step in my process because this questionnaire answers so many questions for me and really helps me know where to show up best for them. I cover a lot of things in this questionnaire. And if you already have your own workflow, but you want my questionnaire questions, I sell that separately at shopbrookejefferson.com. So you can go get my questionnaire bundle, and it covers all of the questions that I ask for my family clients, my newborn clients, and the styling questionnaire that they get. Then after that, I believe one day after they have booked their session, they are getting my expectations email. So this email includes my prep guide where I give the client an overview of my process and I answer any questions they might come up with while working with me. The whole purpose of this email and why I love sending it out is because, again, it cuts out so much back and forth communication. And guys, it's not that I don't want to talk to my clients. I do, but I want to talk about the fun stuff, not the, well, how long until I get my gallery? Or when do you send sneak peeks? Or just all the little bitty questions I like to cover in a guide. And my clients really love this guide too because they can save it and keep it and refer back to it. And it's just a lot easier to retain the information. And it's a great way to basically prevent problems before they happen. And so this email is a game changer. I've been using this email now for probably a year, and it has completely changed the game for me. Then they're going to get a styling email a few days later. So I don't want to bombard my new client with an email every single day from me. So I wait just a couple more days, then I'll send them the styling email. The majority of my clients are booking their sessions between 3 to 6 weeks in advance. Some people are booking months in advance, but the most common time is 3 to 6 weeks is when I'm booking clients, and that is enough time for us to order clothing. It's enough time for them to come try on out of my client closet. So my styling email covers the whole question of what do I wear to my session. I give them a style guide that's very detailed. I have an indoor style guide, an outdoor style guide, a studio style guide, like all the things. And they get the one that pertains to their session. I also include shopping links. I include a link so they can view everything in my client closet, and then I give them some helpful tips. And then 1 week before their session, they are given an automated 1 week reminder email. This means I don't have to carry the weight in the mental capacity of having to remind every single client before their session. They're going to get this reminder. It's sent out 1 week before their session, and I give them some helpful tips of how to prepare for that session. I give tips for dad, tips for mom, tips for kids. You'll see that if you get my workflow. And then after this step, once this goes out, there's nothing else automated before their session. At this point, I take over manually and I'm communicating with my clients, however needy they may be. I have some clients who don't need me at all until the day of the session. I have some clients who want to communicate and just finalize some accessory pieces or whatever the case may be around 5 days before their session. And so we're just like chit chatting and in conversation days leading up to their session. So it just kind of depends. And I love to personalize this because I want every single person to feel like I truly am valuing them and their time as a client. All right, so then obviously we go to the session, we have an awesome time, and then we need a process for after the session. So after the session, this can look like however you want it to. I'm actually working on adding another step in my after the session process. And that's more talking about the gallery. It's talking a little more about upsells, all of that. And so I'll hopefully have a podcast over that soon. But in the meantime, here's what it looks like right now. Number one, I create a to-do step, which I'm going to show you the tech side of this in just a minute. Of I need to send sneak peeks. All right. This is because life happens. I never know how quickly I'm going to be able to edit something. I don't rush myself. I really tell my clients that I value their investment. I value their images, and I'm not going to give them anything less than my best. And so sometimes that takes me up to 2 days after their session to give it back to them. But I do promise at least one fully edited sneak peek within 2 days of their session. But most of the time I beat the 48 hours and they usually get around 3 or 4. The next thing that happens is I have a email template that is titled gallery delivery. So this is the email where this email is also a game changer for my business. So this email includes the link and the download code to their gallery, just like you probably do now. It also includes a video, instructional video on how to navigate the gallery. So I teach them how to share, how to download, how to do all the things they're looking to do. And then I point out some do's and don't reminders from my contract about sharing, saving, downloading all the things with their images. So this is like a very polite way of like, don't slap a filter on the image, all of those things. Tag me on social media. We just go through a lot of things here. And I don't have like any problems. It's been a year or 2 years. I would say it's probably been 2 years since I have caught one of my clients uploading an image and re-editing it. I don't have that problem anymore. I don't have that problem because obviously I've worked really hard to get where I am today and nail an editing style and make sure my clients understand my editing style. And number two, because of this gallery delivery email, it's because I point out everything they agreed to. And it's a great reminder while they're on a high getting their images to read through the do's and don'ts. And then finally, a week after they receive their gallery, I send them a testimonial request. This email is simply asking my clients to leave me a review. I link them to where I want them to leave the review, and I give them some questions to help them craft the testimonial as well. And that's been a game changer as well. Okay, one more thing before I show you the tech side. Before you actually go to the tech creation of your workflow, these are all the things you need to work on before you get to this workflow tab. You need to have a completed contract that is ready to send out. You need to have all of your invoicing setups, your templates, everything that you need needs to be ready to go. You need to have every single one of your email templates completed, and then you need to make sure all of your documents, including your questionnaires, your guides, and anything else that you have is uploaded and attached to your email templates where you are sending the guide in the email. So let's dive into the tech side of what this looks like. So in the back of IrisWorks, I am in the studio and I am under workflows. So you're going to come over here and you're going to click workflows, and then it's going to say my workflows, and all of your workflows are going to show up. And yes, I have 32 workflows, but I don't use all of these workflows anymore. Some of them are from the past. I really need to go through and delete them. But sometimes I will create workflows for special things, which I love. And I also love that every time I do a mini session, I can just duplicate the previous mini session and then go in and tweak the emails and the style guide and all of that. So I love it. Okay, so we're going to be looking at family session workflow, and we're going to click the little pencil icon, and that is going to bring us here. So just like I walked you through it, here's what it looks like in the back end. So it shows you everything that happens before the session, and then it shows you everything that happens after the session, okay? This deliver gallery, I just have it selected to 14 days after the session. This changes all the time. I really recommend that you guys are waiting a minimum of 10 days to send out your galleries. I know when you're new to photography or when you're not having as many clients as you want, it's very easy to want to edit the whole gallery in 3 days and send it back. But I'm not going to go into a rant here, but hear me out. If you want to hear a game-changing tip, you need to wait a minimum of 10 days. All right, a minimum of 10 days. So typically my clients receive their galleries within, I would say, 12 to 24 days, all right, from the time that we had their session. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to title your workflow. You are going to come down here to item. You're going to select an item. So you get 3 options of what you want to do. You can send an email, create a to-do, or you can edit and send an email. I only use these 2. I have attempted to try this one out, and I don't like it as much. So I like to stick to a to-do and a send the email. So if you're going to send an email, which is what a lot of you are going to do, then you're over here, it's going to generate all of your email templates. And you're going to tell it, I want to send the baby next steps, right? And the baby for me is newborns. So after they book their session, the very first thing I'm going to send them would be a next steps email. And then it says schedule and it has a drop down menu. So when do I want to send the next steps email? When their session is booked. And then you would click add item. And you're going to go through and you're going to do this for everything. Now, let's say we're talking about sneak peeks. So create a to-do. I need to send sneak peeks. And then you tell it after the session by, and then I'm going to say 2 days, right? Because I'm promising at least a sneak peek or 2 days after their session, and then you'd click add item. So there's a lot of different options you have when it comes to making your workflow. But again, you want to make sure that everything is ready to go, because if your email doesn't have the attachments or it doesn't include the questionnaire link or any of that, it's not going to deliver to your client the way that you want it to, okay? All right, so that is workflows. I hope that this was helpful and it actually showed you what to do with the tech and explain how you actually get there. I know it can be so overwhelming. I know that this doesn't come natural to everybody, but I want you to do the exercise and really think through, what do you want your client experience to be? And then you come and you do the tech side last, okay? So take the exercise, listen to me, because I promise I know what I'm talking about. And if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me, Brooke at brookejefferson.com, or come hang out with us in the Facebook group, Social Selling for Photographers, Book More Clients. All right, guys, I hope that helps.